remember this night more clearly than most moments from my childhood. Not because of something I saw, but because of what I heard. I was 13 years old when it happened. Old enough to think I was brave, young enough to be very wrong. My parents were gone for the night. It wasn't the first time they'd left me home, but it was the first time they'd be gone that late. My older sister was supposed to be home with me. She wasn't. She told me she'd be back before dark. She never came back. At first, I didn't think much of it. I was enjoying the quiet, the kind of quiet that makes a house feel bigger than it really is. I ordered food, I watched TV, I walked around barefoot like I owned the place. That freedom felt incredible for about an hour. Then the house started making noises. Not loud noises, not obvious ones. The subtle kind. The kind you only notice when you're alone. The air vent clicking, the floor shifting, something brushing against the outside wall. I kept telling myself it was normal. Houses settle, old buildings breathe. Still, I turned the volume up on the TV. At some point, I realized I hadn't checked the doors. I always check the doors. I walked to the front door first. It was locked. The deadbolt was turned. That helped. The back door was locked too. The sliding door leading to the yard hadn't moved. Everything looked fine. I went back to the living room and sat down. That's when I heard footsteps upstairs. Not heavy footsteps, not running, just slow movement, like someone pacing. I froze. My first thought was my sister. Maybe she'd come home quietly. Maybe she was messing with me. I called her name. No answer. I called again, louder. Nothing. The footsteps stopped. That was worse. I sat there, listening so hard my ears felt hot. The TV kept playing, but I wasn't watching it anymore. Then something shifted upstairs. A dull scrape, like furniture being moved. My stomach dropped. I grabbed my phone and texted my sister. No response. I texted my mom. She didn't answer either. I stood up slowly. Every part of my body felt tight. I told myself I was imagining it. Fear does that. It fills silence with stories. I took one step toward the stairs, then another. Halfway up, I stopped. Something breathed above me. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to be unmistakably human. I didn't look up. I backed down the stairs as quietly as I could. My heart was hammering so hard I was sure it could be heard. I reached the bottom step. Then I heard it again. Footsteps. Closer this time. Moving toward the stairs. I ran. I didn't think, I didn't plan. I just ran to my bedroom and slammed the door shut. I locked it, even though I knew the lock was weak. I shoved my dresser in front of the door. It scraped loudly across the floor. That sound felt like a mistake the second it happened. The house went quiet. Too quiet. Then, someone laughed. It was soft, almost curious. Not upstairs, not downstairs. Right outside my door. I clamped my mouth over myself to stop myself from making noise. Tears filled my eyes without warning. A shadow passed beneath the crack of the door, back and forth. They were pacing, waiting. I could hear their breathing now, slow, controlled. They tried the handle. Once, twice. Then the lock clicked. My dresser shifted as pressure pressed against the door. I backed into the corner of my room. I grabbed the only thing nearby, a lamp. I didn't know what I planned to do with it. I just needed something. The pressure stopped. For a moment, I thought they'd given up.
Then I heard them move away. Slow footsteps, calm footsteps, like they weren't in a hurry at all. Minutes passed, maybe longer. I stayed frozen, my muscles burned. Eventually, I heard the front door open, then close. I waited. I didn't move until headlights filled my window, my sister's car. I ran downstairs screaming her name. She came in confused and irritated. I told her everything. She didn't believe me at first, until we noticed the window upstairs, open, and muddy footprints on the floor beneath it. The police never found anyone. They said it was likely a burglary attempt, but nothing was taken. Sometimes I think about that laugh, the way it sounded amused, like whoever it was never intended to steal anything. They just wanted to know I was there.
I was very young when this happened. So young that most of my memories from that time are blurry. This one isn't. This memory stayed sharp. Too sharp. I lived with my grandparents back then. It was a small house in a quiet town. The kind of town where everyone waved. Everyone knew everyone. And that made it feel safe. My grandparents were careful people, especially my grandfather. He taught me rules early, important rules. One of them was simple: never open the door for strangers. He repeated it often, even when it felt unnecessary. Most days were predictable. Cartoons in the morning, quiet afternoons. Neighbors stopping by occasionally, always familiar faces. One neighbor came by more than others. I'll call him Mark. Mark lived a few houses down. He knew my grandparents well. Too well in hindsight. He drank with my uncle sometimes. He helped with yard work. He laughed loudly. He talked too much. As a child, I trusted him because adults trusted him. One evening, my grandmother went out. She played bingo every week. My grandfather stayed home with me at first. We watched TV together. Then the phone rang. Someone needed a ride. My grandfather asked if I wanted to come. I didn't. I wanted to keep watching cartoons. He hesitated, then reminded me of the rule: don't open the door for anyone. I promised. I meant it. I watched him leave through the window. His truck disappeared down the road. The house felt different immediately, quieter. I didn't mind at first. I sat close to the TV. Only a few minutes passed. Then someone knocked. Not loud, not aggressive, just confident. I froze. Another knock followed. I walked toward the door slowly. I didn't open it. I asked who it was. Mark's voice answered. He sounded cheerful, normal. He said he'd just seen my grandfather leave. That was surprising, because it was true. He said my uncle wasn't home either. That was also true. And then he asked if he could come in. I repeated the rule. I wasn't allowed. He laughed, said he wasn't a stranger, said he knew me. That confused me, because he was right. I hesitated too long. I unlocked the door. The moment I opened it, something felt wrong. He smelled like alcohol, strong. He stepped inside without asking again. He was bigger than I remembered, looming. He put his hands on my shoulders. I didn't like that. I tried to step back. He didn't let go. I told him he could wait in the kitchen. I tried to sound calm. His grip tightened. His face changed. The friendliness vanished. His voice lowered, turned sharp.
He said things I didn't understand fully, but I understood the fear they caused. He dragged me into the kitchen. I tried to pull away. I couldn't. He reached for a knife. It was large, heavy. He held it wrong, like he wasn't used to tools. He pressed the tip against me. I started crying. He told me to stop. He told me he would hurt me if I didn't. He demonstrated, slowly. I believed him. I remember shaking, so hard my teeth clicked. Then I heard a sound outside. A vehicle. My grandmother's truck. Hope surged through me. I opened my mouth to scream. His hand clamped over it instantly. He turned us toward the doorway. My grandmother walked in. Her face changed immediately. She screamed. My grandfather followed right behind her. He didn't hesitate. He charged forward, shouting. Mark shoved me away. I hit the floor. My grandmother grabbed me, held me tight. She blocked my view, but I could hear everything. Furniture scraping, grunting, anger, then silence. The door slammed. My grandfather stood there breathing heavily. Mark was gone. I never saw him again. No police came. No report was made. Life continued. As a child, I didn't question it. As an adult, I did. Years later, after my grandfather passed, I asked my grandmother about that night. She looked uncomfortable. She said it was terrifying. Then she mentioned something strange. My grandfather left again that night, late. He took his truck. I asked why. She said she didn't remember, but I do. He was a hunter, well known, respected. No one would question him, and Mark was never seen again.
I was 15 when this happened, old enough to stay home alone, young enough to make stupid decisions. My parents were out of town, just for the weekend. They trusted me. I told myself I deserved that trust. The house felt empty in a comfortable way at first. Quiet, predictable. I stayed in my room most of the night, scrolling on my phone, listening to music. That's when I got the call. It was from someone I barely talked to anymore, a mutual friend, someone I knew well enough not to be suspicious. He asked what I was doing. I told him I was home alone. That was my first mistake. He hesitated before speaking again. Then he asked me for a favor. He said another friend needed a place to stay, just for the night. I didn't like the idea. Something felt off immediately. I said no. He pushed. He sounded nervous, almost desperate. He kept insisting. Eventually, I gave in. I don't know why. I still ask myself that. They arrived not long after. I met them at the door. Everything seemed normal at first. The friend he dropped off barely spoke. He stared too much. His eyes didn't move naturally. As my other friend left, he grabbed him by the shoulders. He whispered something urgently. I didn't hear what he said, but I saw his face. He was scared. The door closed behind him. Now it was just us. The silence felt heavy. The first thing he asked me was whether the doors were locked. Every alarm in my head went off at once. I asked why. He didn't answer. He just stared at me. I laughed awkwardly, tried to brush it off. He asked me to check anyway. I did. Every door, every lock. He watched closely. When he finished, he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It didn't reach his eyes. We went to the kitchen. I grabbed water from the fridge. That's when I noticed where he was standing, right by the knife drawer. He opened it slowly, too slowly. I saw his hand reach inside. I reacted without thinking. I slammed the drawer shut hard. He didn't flinch. He just looked at me. Then he laughed softly, like it was a joke, but his eyes stayed empty. My heart was racing. I could hear my pulse in my ears. I knew I was in danger.
I just didn't know how much. He suggested we go outside to take a walk. I agreed immediately. I wanted him out of the house. We walked toward the back door. I let him step out first. I said I forgot my shoes. He hesitated, then stepped outside. The moment the door closed, I locked it. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my phone. I called my older brother. I told him everything. He didn't ask questions. He said he was coming. I started barricading myself in my room. I gathered anything that could be used as a weapon. I sat on the bed, listening. I heard movement outside, footsteps. Someone trying the door, then knocking. Soft at first, then harder. I didn't answer. I stayed silent. Eventually, headlights flooded the yard. My brother arrived with friends. They confronted him outside. I watched from the window. He was talking rapidly, gesturing wildly, pointing at the house. They kept their distance. Eventually, one of them drove him away. Later, I found out the truth. He had been hearing voices. He believed someone needed to die, either himself or someone else. That someone could have been me. I still think about how close it came, how easily I let him inside, how easily it could have ended differently. That night changed me. I double-check locks now. I don't trust politeness, and I never ignore fear anymore.